You know, I never really thought I would have enjoyed golfing all that much, but I feel like you really helped me turn that attitude around. Got a little sketchy around all the lava and extreme mountains near the end, but I still had a lot of fun. I think it's about time to relax, you know? I mean, first hands on bowling, now running from green to green. I think it's a better time than ever to take it easy. Isn't that right, PB? Uh, PB? He's already out in the water, isn't he? Alright, well, time to get started then. Back to 2005. Polar Golfer Pineapple Cup had released, capping off the time over the green. Wild Tangent during this year also worked to push out a new application to make Wild Tangent more accessible and handy to use, especially compared to keeping a browser open just for games. They also released Fate, the dungeon crawler that went on to receive many sequels and was one of the monolith games coming from Wild Tangent's discography. About only 4 months after the release of Pineapple Cup, Wild Tangent was back at it again, releasing a new game with hopes to take the market by storm, by tackling a whole new sport once again. Racing was the choice of Poison this time around, and it made for a rather interesting but infuriating take on the genre. Let's waste no more time and hop right into the game. For starters, the menu is set over the waters in parts unknown. BB chilling on a tube at a dock, waiting for you to make your selection. We can choose to start treading into water, take a look at some options, view the high scores, find some help, or quit to the desktop. Two things you may notice right off the bat when making a selection. Firstly, the announcer that chooses to announce whatever option you pick.
Start! Options!
It sounds close to a hillbilly accent, which, while it does fit the theme, I find it really loud compared to the rest of the game sounds. Secondly, the menu actually moves around the environment that the menu takes place in. Even PB decides to swim along with you for each option, adding to the overall feel of the menu. The wooden signs continue to make a return as almost all the menus are built into them. Moving on, clicking play will lead you to a mode select. There are two modes to pick from, event mode and contest mode. Event mode is the meat and potatoes of the game, revolving around beating certain objectives in each race to collect trophies and move on to the next stage. Contest mode has you run through 4 different races, collecting scores with the appeal of getting to post your scores online. While the old Wild Tangent leaderboards are long gone now, may we hope that the tireless effort of those brave enough to attempt contest mode will never feel in vain. Going back to event mode, the events are broken up into multiple different races spread across 4 different lands. Iceland, the Rio Grande, the Amazons, and Mount Vesuvius? I still don't understand why this polar bear is such an adrenaline junkie, but please remind me never to go on vacation with this guy. Personal injury aside, Iceland is the only available venue at the start. Looking to the right side of the screen, the list of events is shown. Each event contains 3 medals or trophies to get, all for completing certain goals during the race. There are also a few different types of races, but I'll cover that in a bit. When selecting a character, we only have PB at the start to choose. The other racers include an Eskimo, a catfish, a mermaid, the penguin, and even Santa has come back to join us. These characters are unlocked by getting a certain amount of medals. The final character, Santa, needs 100 medals to unlock. Each character also has different attributes, as covered in a short little bio for each one. These can either be straightforward or honestly rather cryptic for what each character brings to the table. Once you select your preferred racer, it's time to choose an event and get to racing. At the start of each race, you get to view the objectives for each race as well as your opponents. There are 3 event types, all with their own challenges tied to each event. The events are races, time trials, and elimination tournaments. The objectives you view will typically be the same for each event of the same category. For races, it's all about coming in first, collecting the most stars, and getting every treasure in a level. Stars and treasures seem to have very little actual gameplay use, primarily just used as getting a currency for trophies and medals. Time trials require you to make it to the end of a course before time runs out. Along the way, there are time gates that increase your time when you pass through them. The objectives are making it to the end of a race before time runs out, having a bunch of time left on the clock, and also hitting a certain amount of targets for each course. Lastly, the elimination tournament. These are fairly hard events. The event stars in a circle area with no railings. The object? Force your opponents off the side to score points. Alright, look. I know that the bear was an adrenaline junkie, but this feels like a bit too much. This mode requires you to get a certain amount of points for each medal. This medal is honestly a pretty hard one to get, as it requires you to get really familiar with the controls. Sometimes it feels like sheer luck, because enemies seem to target you more rather than each other. And from what I've been able to gather, this tournament just seems to go on forever until you lose. These 3 objectives are the main gameplay loop for the entire game. There's only one other mode, being hockey, but this mode hardly shows up, so I'll cover it briefly. It's set up a lot like the elimination tournament, except it's one-on-one battles. It's pretty much water-air hockey, except with the added bombs that are brought into play. Wait, bombs? Seriously, what is wrong with this bear? The hockey pucks are also put into play by the Grim Reaper, but at this point I've lost any ability to be shocked by this. The gameplay loop can feel rather stale, especially when you're looking to repeat events for medals you might have missed. The mechanics for tubing are relatively simple. Your character follows where your mouse is. Your mouse location is shown by using a small white reticle to help keep track of where you are. Besides movement, you can use left click to shoot water. It can be shot at targets or opponents to throw them off course. You can also use it as a way to boost your tube, but it needs to be reloaded once empty. It wouldn't be a party without a ton of obstacles in your way either. Obstacles range from snowmen or other random characters throwing objects at you, ice chunks and pokey objects that can also be slight annoyances, or threaten to sink your tube entirely. Oh my god, PB, no! Speaking of the medals, this is honestly the hardest part of the game. When trying to get all the medals, I find it hard, if not close to impossible, to get all 3 for an event done in one go. This is where the real loop begins. The AI also seek to make this goal as hard as possible. So many events happened where I'd have to play an event over and over trying to grab just one treasure, or having to spend a good hour trying to get the gold for an elimination tournament event. The real grind here is going to be unlocking Santa, needing over those 100 medals to do so. Once you get past that goal, there isn't largely anything else to do except try to collect all the medals. The game is rather simplistic, but if you find yourself dedicated, this game in the Polar series is probably the longest game in terms of completing all the game has to offer. I want to take a little time to talk about the different venues that you'll find yourself waiting around through the game. There are 4 stages, all with their own host of missions and challenges to take down. If there's one positive I can levy from this game, it's that each location looks beautiful. They all ooze the effort that went into them and reminds me how pretty they made the graphics in the original game, Polar Bowler. Next, I want to talk about the sounds. The biggest change here is that all the characters in the game have voice acting, even PB. It's a little jarring to get used to, and I feel that some of the voice acting is a tad annoying after hearing it for hours at a time. But it's got some charm to it that fits the idea of barreling down a river in nothing but a tube. Any other sounds in the game do sound nice, and I find that they add to the game in a nice way. Speaking of sounds, let's talk about the music. The music in this game is comprised of shorter tracks compared to longer tracks from each of the previous games. They sound alright, but feel pretty sameish after hearing them on repeat listens. A lot of the time the music is pretty drowned out mostly during gameplay, but the music is nice and does fit the racing theme pretty well. Something else popped up during the making of the video that I wanted to talk about. For all the other videos in the series, I found the music was pretty easy to find. It was either accessible in the files, or I could find them pretty much anywhere on YouTube. When it came to the tracks for this game, they have been nowhere to be found, and even looking through the files, they needed to be reformatted to even be listenable. I managed to get the tracks in a playable format, and have uploaded them to a playlist on YouTube. Link to the playlist is going to be in the description. Take a listen to them over there, and see if you like them any more than I do. All in all, everything in the game combines to be a fairly well-rounded game. Pretty enjoyable. Just don't try to get all the medals in the game unless you like punishing yourself. The AI is pretty unforgiving, but every event takes around a minute or two, so it doesn't feel as harsh to go back to complete events, even multiple times. Overall, a solid game, though if I had a choice for any of the other games in the series, this one would be one of my last picks. Well, PB, you actually got me to enjoy all this river racing. I honestly can't believe we made it past some of the hurdles back there, but we did it. I think now is a better time than ever to finally relax, right? PB? Oh god, he's gone off somewhere else again. Wait, are those billiard balls? Oh no.